thing on? Is this thing loud enough? Now is this thing on? Well, that one. Now it might be too loud. I don't know where to put this. I'm going to keep it here. You guys let me know if I'm too loud. You guys let me know if I am too loud. Let me turn down the music a little bit. Mr. Money Mike Madness is in the building. How you doing, Mike? Fenway Fanatic, how are you? Moose, what's going on? Fenway Joe, I like that name. What's up? Fenway Red, a lot of Fenways in the house tonight. Dallas, how are you, my friend? Daniel, what's going on? Red Sox Nation, JB, Mr. Bob Dylan, Kevin, John, my moderator, Robbie, my other moderator, Prodigy's in the building. John, how are you? Sandy, how's it going? Won't go to Fenway this year. I don't think it'll miss you too much, my friend. Cause, how are you? Red Hot Red Sox, I like that one too. Max, what's going on? DP Sports, what's up? Lawson, how are you? This is gonna be a bit of a fun. This is gonna be a little bit of a fun stream, chat. I wanted to do something different coming into the 2025 season, something we haven't done yet on this channel. I did not, Fenway. You can just put in the chat here, though. So this is what we're gonna do in today's video or today's live stream. And, you know, usually we come on here, we talk about the latest updates and whatnot. But to be honest with you, there really hasn't been anything. Moose, what's going on, right? We haven't gotten a ton of free agent news. What's up, Anapa? Michaela, how are you? We've got a ton of free agent news. There's nothing really new going on with the Sox in terms of you know, going towards any type of signing. We haven't heard anything about bullpen arm. Outside of the fact they want a bullpen arm and they want a right-handed bat, we haven't heard anything else, right? So I thought it'd be kind of fun to put the power in your guys' hands tonight. So we'll kind of do an example. Mike Riley, thank you so much for subscribing. Mike sent us in a trade proposal that we are going to take a look at. I've got baseball trade values pulled up, and then we as a chat are going to vote. We as a chat are going to vote. Do we like the trade? Do we not like the trade? We're going to go through as many as we possibly can while we're live. So I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to show you guys kind of how it works, and then I want you guys to put your trades in here. $5 super chat from Anapa. Thank you so much. Getting the live stream going. Make sure we get some likes on that. That was very kind of you. Thank you. He said, they say, how do you feel about this team? How do you feel about what this team needs the most, and who/how should they get that? Love the contact. Well, first and foremost, once again, thank you for your donation. I really appreciate it. Secondly, in terms of what they need the most, it's kind of a toss-up, right? I think they are on the edge of being a really solid team. I think you look at the bullpen potential. I think there's a lot there. You look at the lineup potential, there's a lot there. I think they're good in the rotation. It's between the lineup and the bullpen. In my opinion, a veteran right-handed bat does so much for this lineup that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. Not only at the plate, right? Adding in 20 home runs in this lineup is fantastic, but also getting someone in here who's been there and done that. When you're entering such a pivotal time in your organization when it comes to guys coming up, I think is an extremely underrated factor. I also think improving the defense. A lot of people want to talk about, we got to improve the pitching, right? Improve the pitching, and you're not wrong, right? The talent on the pitching staff was improved. The difference in a lot of it, though, is how do we get better? We get better defensively. The pitching's going to get better naturally. So I think the bat's the big one. Whether it comes via free agency or trade, in my opinion, you really have two legitimate impact options via free agency. You've got Alex Bregman, you've got Anthony Santander. Now, Jurickson Profar, you could throw into that a little bit, right? I don't know how much I trust him being able to do what he did last year on let's say a 3-year contract. So maybe we'll throw tentatively 3 in there. I don't know how far the Red Sox are willing to go for any of those guys. It doesn't sound like they're willing to go as far as some of these other teams, and I don't know if some of these other teams are willing to go as far as being rumored. So free agency or trade, I'm leaning more towards trade at this point, but I could see them coming out and just sort of surprising us with a signing. But I don't know, honestly. It's a really, really, they're in a tough spot. They're in a really tough spot. So we're going to take a look at that at some point. Mike Trout for 50K. Yeah. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through trades today. We're going to talk about them. We're going to grade them. We're going to vote on them. And we're going to end up seeing which one we think is the best one. It's all viewer submitted. So if you have a trade that you want to take a look at, put it in the chat and we will take a look at it. We're going to try and get through as many as humanly possible. All right, so we're going to start. I'm going to show you guys exactly what we're doing today. So Mike submitted this before, Mr. Money Mike Madness, submitted this before the stream actually started. And this is kind of what it looks like. So this one, in my opinion, is it's a hot one to start off on. But we are going to do it anyways, just to kind of show you guys what we're talking about. So all you got to do is put this in the chat. We're going to put it into baseball trade values, basically. And then we are going to try and figure out whether or not this is something we like or something we don't like. So let's start with this one. So for Mike, he wants to trade with the Seattle Mariners specifically. And these are the players he wants. He wants Harry Ford, the catching prospect. Is he in AA or AAA? I think he's in AA. Mitch Haniger. Colt Emerson. Shortstop, second base. Okay. And then Samad Taylor, which I'm not too sure about. And he wants to trade all of those players for Jarren Duran. I mean, on paper, right away, it's an overpay by the Red Sox. I think there's two problems with this. The biggest one, in my opinion, is Mitch Haniger. He's been all right. He hasn't been great lately. And he's really the only impact big leaguer you're getting back. I think Harry Ford still needs some time in minor league baseball. Colt Emerson, really solid prospect. You've got Marcel Meyer. You've got Christian Campbell. I don't really know where Colt Emerson would play into what the Red Sox would be doing next year specifically. Samad Taylor, never heard of him. I don't know who he is. But the big thing that kind of standing in the way here is who you're trading away, right? The Red Sox have already kind of come out and said, we're not trading Jarren Duran. It's not going to happen. To me, this is a lot of talent, especially not pitching talent. If the Red Sox are going to trade Jarren Duran for anybody, it's going to be for a pitcher. So I don't think that this is going to be a trade that gets done. But again, this is how we're going to do this today. This is how we're going to do this. I forgot someone? Oh, all right. Victor Robles, I guess. We'll add in Victor Robles. And then, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about it, discuss it. In my opinion, this one's pretty... I don't know if there's too much we need to talk about, but we'll definitely talk about it a little bit. They'll add in Victor Robles, which I guess does help a bit. Victor Robles had a really good season last year. I still don't know if this is worth it for the Red Sox. One, I also don't think the Mariners do this one either, to be honest with you. Like, I genuinely don't think the Red Sox do this one. So let's see who says no. So this is how this is going to go. I think this is kind of a fun idea. If you guys hate it, we'll just go back to regular... old live streaming. So let me know in the poll who says no, Mariners or Red Sox. A lot of people are saying, it's pretty tied. I think Seattle couldn't say yes fast enough. See, I would be kind of on your page versatility. My only thing with them saying yes is this is a lot of players, and this is a lot of their big, talented players, right? I mean, Harry Ford, he's one of their top prospects. Colt Emerson, he's one of their top prospects. Victor Robles was one of their best players last year. And then obviously you give away the outfield and Mitch Haniger. I don't know. I just don't know like what the line of, yeah, you get Jarren Duran, who was one of the best players in baseball. I don't know, Mike. I think I'm out on this one, to be honest with you. I think I'm out on this one. Another $5 super chat from Anapa. Thank you so much. This is a very generous night tonight, Anapa. Thank you so much. So we'll do theirs first, just because. Let me. I don't know why that super chat's staying. There we go. Yeah. So I think the big thing that stands in the way here, and make sure we get some likes on that, guys. I really appreciate the generosity. I think the sort of big thing that stands in the way of this trade right here is the idea of trading Jarren Duran, right? It sounds like the Red Sox are pretty hell-bent on not trading Jarren Duran, so I just don't think that this one ends up working out. It's honestly a pretty interesting trade, because it does fill a lot of Red Sox holes. I don't know if the Seattle Mariners say yes to losing this much talent. Yeah, we don't need bodies. I think that's a good way to put it. Okay, so let's do Anapa's trade, and then we'll go for another one. See, so we're just gonna rapid fire these trades. We're gonna talk about them. We're just gonna keep going until we run out. All right, Athletics. So they are not getting Jarren Duran. They are getting. This might take a little bit, to be honest with you. Okay, they're getting Grissom, Meyer, Blaze, Jordan. Yeah. Grissom, Meyer, Blaze, Jordan. Okay. So, Grissom, Meyer, Blaze, Jordan. You know, I'm surprised Blaze Jordan has so little value. I understand he had a bit of a rough year with injuries, but I thought maybe he'd be in like the threes. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of wild that, like, according to this, he's got no value. So right off the bat, this is a pretty immediate overpay. This is a pretty heavy overpay. It wouldn't get accepted by this model. And this isn't the end all be all, right? And I do think that a lot of what is going to have to happen if the Red Sox are going to trade for a bat is going to be an overpay, right? It's probably going to look something like this in terms of the total value given up in order to get this one done. In terms of this trade specifically, I think there's a couple of things, in my opinion, that would really make me nervous about this. One, the A's, I think, absolutely do this if it's put on the table. I think they absolutely take this deal if it's put on the table. The A's getting a prospect like Marcelo and getting Marcelo Meyer is obviously a huge one, but sit here from the Red Sox point of view, and let's put it up to a vote here. Okay, so Mike's was pretty handedly the Red Sox say no to this one. Let's see who says no to this one. And then I'm just going to say, if you think this trade would work, just choose accepted. Okay, so now we're voting on this one, and a lot of people saying the Sox immediately. Too much for Rooker unless you can extend him. My only fear with extending Rooker is it took him a while to get good in Major League Baseball, and that doesn't mean he's not going to. He's going to sort of fall off, right? I mean, JD Martinez was a bit of a late bloomer. There are guys who have been out here who haven't really come into their own until they were close to 30, and that means, especially for a guy who's mostly a DH, that means you're going to have to. That means you're going to have to figure out where to put him. I sit here, and from a Red Sox point of view, this is a lot of talent being given up. This is also, I mean, if you're not going to bring anyone else in, right, to play second base, this is relying on Christian Campbell, who's had, 16 games in AAA? And Marcelo Meyer for Brent Rooker. You know, I I just don't think, especially with you've got 2 years of control over Brent Rooker. 2 years of control over Garrett Crochet, I think, is much different than 2 years of control over Brent Rooker. If you're going to trade a top 10 prospect in Major League Baseball for him, I just don't think this makes a ton of sense from a Red Sox perspective. And the other thing too is how are you going to get Masataka Yoshida, right? I know the A's are looking to add salary. They're trying to figure out a way to add salary so they don't get penalized by the league. Would they take on Masa's contract in this deal? And maybe that makes it more valuable. But then again, you'd still have to include a Marcelo Meyer in this deal. And that, to me, still doesn't really make a ton of sense. What if we put Mason Miller in and put Masa in? Yeah, it probably lines up value-wise, and we can do it just for the heck of it. But again, sometimes with baseball trade values, it gives you the overall value of a player, right? Oh, this would be way too much. Yeah, you need to add more, I think, from a Red Sox perspective. Masa brings the value down. This definitely wouldn't be accepted. This is too much talent going out for the Oakland A's in terms of major league success, right? Because Brent Rooker and Mason Miller are 2 all-stars, whereas Vaughn Grissom has potential, but he certainly hasn't gotten there yet in Major League Baseball. Marcelo has potential. He still hasn't gotten there yet. Masa's on a contract that nobody wants, which is why his value is so low. And Blaze Jordan's right now projected to be sort of a not a utility guy, but a bench bat, right? I think this makes this trade a little bit less realistic, if we're being honest. And it's not just because of the values. I think it's because you take a look at just sort of the overall, right? You go outside of the values here, and you just sort of sit here. And I think at this point, it's not really about trying to match up the total values on this trade. I think it's about just simply what the A's are getting versus what the A's are giving up and what the Red Sox are giving up. And I just don't think either side wants any of this. Is Alex Rizzo? Is his first name Alex? Anthony Rizzo? Yeah, he's a free agent. Why not replace Meyer with Willier/Romero? Yeah, it could work. Again, I just get nervous with trying adding Bayo instead of Masa. You would have to move Masa somehow to make this work. I just think even if you add Bayo, it doesn't line up value-wise because Bayo is certainly not 44 here, and he was already. I don't think this is going to end up working out, even if we're just talking about overall total values here. What's up, Video Game Nation? All right, I just saw another one. Bogarts for Story and Yoshida. Hey, Prodigy's been here for 22 months. He's going to skip the line, it looks like. He says, I don't know why this is freezing today. This is really annoying. We also have to change those GIFs. Do Xavier Edwards for Mikey Romero and Yoshida. Another trade could maybe be Bo Bichette for Yoshida and Romero. I don't know if I'd love Bo Bichette for Romero and Yoshida. Bichette to me would be a walk-year. It'd be not a loaner, a short-term contract. I can't remember the name of that. Yeah, I don't know. I also don't think that the Blue Jays would come close to wanting a guy like Bo Bichette. Who's Xavier Edwards on? I don't even remember. What team is Xavier Edwards on, chat? Does Rizzo have any value? Not from a Red Sox perspective. They don't need an Anthony Rizzo. They need a right-handed bat. Xavier Edwards on the Marlins. I mean, the trade probably works out. So we'll talk about. I think this trade's going to work out value-wise. Oh no, this trade is not going to work out value-wise. I think there's a couple of big things that stand in the way here. I don't even think this doesn't even get to close to zero from so right out the bat, right? This doesn't line up at all value-wise on here. But if we're bringing it outside of baseball trade values and just talking about what it would look like overall, one, the Marlins historically, not a team that's going to spend money, right? Not a team that's going to spend money. So for them to take on 18 million a year for the next 3 years, right? No, probably not. I don't see them wanting to take that on unless the Red Sox pay down most of it. And if they pay down most of it, I still don't think that this would line up value-wise for the Marlins. Yeah, I think the Marlins say no to this every day of the week. We'll put it up for the vote, but okay, so the Sox say no to the Rooker trade. Man, so far we haven't seen one that we're going for. So far we haven't seen one. What's up, Mark? Just say yes. Marlins, Red Sox, and then we're just going to put in here. Accepted. So this is the trade we're trying to figure out, chat. Are we doing... I mean, for me, I think the Red Sox say yes to this every day of the week, right? I think the Red Sox have to say yes to this. I think the Marlins pretty quickly say no to this. Unless, again, you're gonna take on all of Masataka Yoshida's contract, and I just don't see the Red Sox doing that. Because, at that point... Right, at that point, I just don't see it happening. Okay, so while you're voting on this one, remember this one. Let's do, I'm just looking at the next one. What's up, Mark? I'm just looking at the next one down here. It's Grissom, Fitz, and Cespedes for Taylor Ward. I really hope the Red Sox don't do this. I think the Red Sox say no to that. We're going to put it in. We're going to talk about it. Grissom, Fitz, Fitz, and then Grissom, Fitz, and who was it? Arias? Was that what it was? Cespedes, right? Cespedes for Taylor Ward. I have a bit of a tangent to go on about Taylor Ward. I've been waiting for a little bit. I was wondering if they were going to end up being closely linked to Taylor Ward. I do have a bit of a see, even this wouldn't be close to value on the Marlins. This is all going to disappear the second I change teams, isn't it? Taylor Ward's the Angels. Oh no, it isn't. Sweet. Okay. So the value matches up pretty perfectly. And the Red Sox could use Taylor Ward, right? If you don't know about Taylor Ward, he's essentially a league average bat against right-handed pitching and a well above average bat when it comes to left-handed pitching. This is my tangent about Taylor Ward. On paper, this looks really good, right? You're not giving up anything too crazy. Cespedes is your highest value prospect in there. But Franklin Arias right now is a bit ahead of Cespedes. So you could argue that he's expendable a little bit. My problem with the Taylor Ward thing is he would end up having to platoon at DH because he's not a good defensive outfielder. He's fine-ish, and he'd probably be relatively serviceable in the outfield, but he's certainly not a super great outfielder. In fact, he's not very good at all. So you'd end up having to platoon him at DH, which would effectively make Massa a platoon DH. If you're going to do that, if that's your plan coming into the season, just use Rob Refsnyder, right? Rob had similar, if not better, statistics against lefties in 2024. He's a more versatile defensive player. He adds a little bit of speed. I don't totally get or understand the need for Taylor Ward if he's not an everyday player, right? Because if we bring this up, could Ward play second? I think he plays. So I'm going to do a little bit more research because this is just what I remember. I did Taylor Rogers. Dang it. Right, so he played outfield and third base last year, or over his career. He was a good player this year, right? It was a 246 average, 323 on base percentage. He did strike out a lot. What was that? What is that strikeout value at? It's a little bit above league average. It's nothing crazy. 748 OPS. He had a 111 OPS plus. He hit 25 homers, so there's definitely some pop in there. But this is what I'm talking about, right? He's a league average bat, OPS plus 101. He had most of his home runs from the right-hand side, but that's because he played most games. And again, you go to, okay, how does this make your team better? I don't really know, to be honest with you. I don't know how Taylor Ward is all that better than Rob Refsnyder. And if you already have Rob Refsnyder, what is fully the point of going and getting Taylor Ward? And it does drive me a little bit crazy because that one to me feels like a trade to make a trade, right? It feels like if the Red Sox are going to make a trade, it's going to be very targeted. It's going to be very targeted. I don't know. Happy New Year, Jack. This one to me, like, it makes sense on paper. It makes sense on paper. Ward is easily a better hitter than Refsnyder. Is he, though? I mean, maybe career-wise. CH Man. $2 super chat. Let me make sure I get that one in the chat, though. Comic Relief stopping by for a few. What's going on, CH? Hey, can we get some likes on that, ladies and gentlemen? Happy to see you here, CH. Welcome to 2025. Let's go back to this. Okay, Taylor Ward's pretty obviously a better player, a better hitter than Rob Refsnyder. I think one thing that's really gonna be the difference between these two is that Taylor Ward played 156 games. Rob Refsnyder did not play 156 games. But let's go through. Okay, career-wise, over the last 4 years, he's been an above-average player. That's fine, right? 21, he wasn't an everyday player, or he was injured. I don't know which, right? 23, he wasn't an everyday player, or he was injured. I don't know which. I'd assume it wasn't an everyday player when you got Trout. They had that kid out there for a little bit, and then Renfroe, I think, was in 23 too. Was that 24? No, that was 23, I think. Either way, right? But let's go and at least have a little bit of a conversation about why I would still have Rob Refsnyder instead of Taylor Ward. So let's compare a little bit. So the big thing here, and again, this in my opinion comes down to games. It comes down to games because you look at what he actually did at the plate this season. Rob Refsnyder, batting average better, on base percentage better, slugging better, OPS better, OPS plus better than Taylor Ward, right? What he's lacking in is he played 63 games less than Taylor Ward, so the WAR is obviously going to be lower. He has less plate appearances. He's going to have less hits. He's going to have less home runs. He's going to have less RBIs, right? So all of those things are correlated with the fact that Taylor Ward was just simply on the field more because he had more opportunities. You go into some of the sort of the deeper numbers here. I would guarantee you they're probably pretty close to to each other if we're actually going to take a look at it. So, again, I just don't know how we sit here and say that Rob Refsnyder's the overall better player. That Taylor Ward's a genuinely better player. And it's not like Rob Refsnyder's on a fat salary either. I don't know. I mean, Rob strikes out at a lower percentage than Taylor Ward. I don't know, man. I just don't think Taylor Ward is a significant improvement enough on the lineup for us to be like, yep, this is the guy we have to go to. When you could just go to Rob Refsnyder. So that's my opinion, though. Let's see, what's our next one, folks? What's our next one? Who's got the next one? He only plays versus lefties, Rob. But that's my entire point. If Taylor Ward came to the Red Sox, he would also only play against lefties. You wouldn't start him over Jarren Duran. You're not going to start him over, say, Don Rafael in center field. You're probably, if you're facing a righty, not going to start him over Wilyer Abreu, who all three were better against lefties this season. You're also probably not starting him over Masataka Yoshida, who is better against a righty this season. The only time it makes sense for Taylor Ward to be in this lineup would be against a left-handed player, and then you could just platoon Rob Refsnyder and Masataka Yoshida. So that's my entire point, right? All right, JL, what do we got? Brian Wu. I think the big thing with the Red Sox and Brian Wu is that outfielders need days off, and you could still play Rob Refsnyder when you need a day off. And guess what? Roman Anthony's coming up at some point this season too, right? Christian Campbell could play the outfield too. Like I don't know. I sit here and there's not really a need for a platoon outfield bat. In my opinion, right? This to me would just be very, very marginal improvements. Ward's salary, yeah, but what's Rob's? Like $3 million, maybe? Right? $3 million, maybe? All right, JL, let's do yours. The Mariners for Brian Wu. The Mariners for Brian Wu. And he wants to include Cespedes. A lot of trading of Cespedes, which I think is interesting. I think Cespedes can be a top 100 prospect by the end of the year. Cespedes, Massa, Wilyer, and Cutter. So it does. I mean, I think this would be accepted via the model. Let me see. Yeah, so this would be accepted by the model. Now, what I'm interested in is, first and foremost, I think there are a couple of things here. I think there are a couple of things here. So it's $1.2 million versus $775,000 for Taylor Ward. For a big market team, that is basically even, right? If we're sitting here being like, boy, we could save some money getting Taylor Ward in here, you know what I mean? I don't think that's exactly something that should be appealing to the Red Sox. And maybe it's appealing to a team like the Mariners or the Marlins or one of these smaller market teams. But for the Red Sox, if they're getting frustrated but doing the difference of $775,000 and $1.3 million, we have a big problem, right? We have a big problem. So the model works in this trade hypothetically. There are, in my opinion, three things that really stand out to me as to why this trade wouldn't work. First and foremost is what Doug said, right? It's been pretty obvious that the Mariners aren't looking to trade. G with a 5 for our $4.99 super chat. We get some likes in the chat for that one. Thank you so much, G. I appreciate you. You are going to be next up in line, my friends. Thank you so much. Fifth super chat of the live stream. Thank you so much, G. That's really, really kind of you. So there's three things that stand out to me. One, the Mariners don't seem to want to trade a starter, right? They say, hey, we're open to Luis Castillo. They are idiots. They are idiots for not taking Tristan Casas and Masataka Yoshida for Luis Castillo. If that was what was actually proposed, there is absolutely no reason why they shouldn't take it. Two, this is a lot of major league talent the Red Sox have given up. And Brian Wu is a fantastic player and would slot in to where Cutter Crawford would be in this lineup. But then you've got to figure out what are you going to do with the hole that Massa and Yoshida build, right? That's a pretty big hole that you've got to fix. Now, people are going to say Roman Anthony. I don't know if he's going to be ready for opening day, and that's a lot to ask of a prospect. Those are the two big issues, in my opinion. The third one, I think, is that just simply it's pretty clear that because the Mariners said no to Tristan and Massa, which, again, really, really dumb that they didn't take that, it really feels like they don't want that Masataka Yoshida contract. So I think even if they see that, they're going to be like, no. You know what I mean? And the big thing here is that I think the Red Sox are kind of done with. I think the Red Sox are kind of done with looking for big starting pitchers like this. Maybe they go and they shift a prospect for a prospect to continue to bolster that pipeline. I don't think we're going to see another trade for a legitimate starting pitcher like a Brian Wu, like a Logan Gilbert, like a Bryce Miller, right? I don't think the Red Sox do that. It seems pretty obvious that the Red Sox aren't going, or that the Mariners aren't looking to trade any of these guys. So while I like the idea and it matches up, I think there's a couple of big holes in it that need to be filled just simply outside of do the values match up, right? And so am I on the fence with this one a little bit? Right? I think you'd have to sign a bat to be able to do this. You'd have to go out and either overspend on Santander or overspend on Bregman to make this make some sort of sense. But you'd still have a hole in the outfield you would need to fill. Does Rob Refsnyder become an everyday outfielder until Roman Anthony or Christian Campbell's ready? Do they try Nick Sogar in the outright? There's a lot of moving parts that would have to work for this trade, and I just don't think the Red Sox are going to do that. We did get a $4.99. I keep saying $5.99 because it's like $5, but it's $4.99. Anyways, we do have a $4.99 super chat from G, so we're going to do his trade next. Is Ian Happ gone? Is Ian Happ gone? Because I think that's going to be a big part of this. Abreu and Yoshida for Seiya Suzuki. So I'll tell you right now, I don't think those values line up. Let's go Cubs. Let's go Seiya Suzuki. The values will absolutely line up. I didn't realize there was such little value on Seiya. I don't understand why that is. That's crazy. I need to stop deleting everybody and just delete the people I'm not going to use, or we're going to be sitting here looking up the same like 4 names over and over again. Massa, like that entire trade was in there and I just didn't do it. So yeah, technically this works out, right? I think this would technically be, so it'd be a moderate overpay. But again, I think if you're going to trade for anybody that's going to make an impact for the Red Sox this season, you're going to have to overpay. I love Seiya Suzuki. I think Seiya Suzuki would fit perfectly with what the Red Sox are looking for. So I'm curious to see which side you guys think would say no. Cub Sox at option agreement. All right, so I'm curious to see where you guys land on this, because I sit here and I got to tell you, if I'm the Red Sox, I think hard about this. I think Seiya would fit super, super well with what the Red Sox are looking for in terms of power production. He's not a good defensive outfielder, but he's an outfielder that you would be comfortable in terms of defense in left field at Fenway. This is a guy who could take some at-bats at DH throughout the year if you get rid of Massa, right? He's under contract for 2 or 3 more years. Man, I don't know, guys. I think there's some legitimate interest, at least from my part in here. It seems pretty, let me look at the poll. You guys are saying the Cubs will say no. I would tend to agree with that. Or you guys are saying majority are saying Sox say no. What's the reasoning? Why would you guys say that the Red Sox say no to this trade? Because I sit here, and if you're the Red Sox, right, you've got Roman Anthony on the back end. This gives you an out, essentially. Right, this gives you an out on Yoshida. This lets you free up some space in the outfield for Roman Anthony. For another one who's been sliding, yeah. You don't get it? I think the big reason here, you just love Abreu's game. I think that's fair. If you love the player, it's going to be hard to let him go. The Cubs don't want to add money. I think that's the valid reason that the Cubs say no to this for sure. OMG Cheapo just signed Bregman. Yeah, let me just get right on that, shall I? You don't know why we're getting rid of him? Because the problem is you've got the number one prospect in the game whose ceiling is much higher than Wilyer Abreu's offensively. Right? You've got Cedar Rafael locked into an extension, which I don't think the Red Sox are going to part ways with. And you've got Jared Noren, who was a top 15 prospect in baseball. You can't fit them all, right? Wilyer and Say aren't even on the same level of player. I would say Say is above him. I don't know. Guys. I think I say yes to this trade. I think I do. The Sox have too many outfielders. Well, the problem is they have too many of everything. The problem is if you sit there and say, well, they have too many of them, they're never going to add anybody. This has been my problem. I'm going to go on a tangent a little bit, and then we'll get back to the trades. This has been my problem with any trade proposed, is people go, it's going to block somebody, or it's going to kick somebody off. Yes, right? That is how these are going to go. There is not a single player out there, either on the trade market or the free agent market, that you are going to be able to bring in and just plop into a position, right? It is simply impossible. You're going to have to move things around to fit anybody, and I don't know why that is such a bad thing. People say, oh, why are they getting a second baseman, Corbin? They have two potential competent second basemen. You're absolutely right. They do have two potential competent second basemen. They have two second basemen who could be all-star second basemen. I firmly believe that, in Grissom and Christian Campbell. But you need to make improvements somewhere, and right now those guys are not all-star second basemen. They are potential all-star second basemen, right? So what you would be doing in the case of this, is you are going to have to make room by removing some of these question marks, or not even removing them in this case specifically, but just creating a smaller vacuum for those question marks to have an impact. Let me break down a scenario for you. The Red Sox pitching's in a really good place. The rotation looks really solid. You've got a legitimate top five. Right now, Garrett Crochet has the second best odds to win the Cy Young in the AL. That's a pretty damn good pitcher. You got Walker Buehler. We don't really know what we're going to get from him. The ceiling's incredibly high. The rotation looks really good. You've got a lot of talent, but a lot of question marks in the bullpen. Okay, so this is the roster the Red Sox are coming into 25 with, right? Where are your question marks lying, and are they big enough to truly derail this season? I think the answer right now, specifically offensively, is absolutely, because you look at it and you go around the diamond. Rafael Devers is at third base. I think we don't think he's too much of a question mark, right? Maybe defensively he's a little bit of a question mark, but if he stays healthy, he's going to be one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball. Trevor Story is a massive question mark. You just simply don't know what type of output you're going to get from Trevor Story if he's on the field. You go over to second base, and that's a massive question mark. You don't even know if it's going to be Grissom or Christian Campbell. My gut's telling me it's Grissom because Christian Campbell's had 16 games in AAA baseball. I know he absolutely tore it up, and I think there's absolutely something to be said for that. A lot of really good players have a cup of coffee. Mike, thank you so much for your $2 super chat, my friends. We will absolutely get into your trade proposal in just a second. I just need to finish this thought because it's been driving me crazy for a little bit now. We'll absolutely do that. Can we get some likes on that? That was incredibly generous, Mike. Thank you so much. We're going to talk about it in a second. Let's get back to this, right? So you're looking at the opening day roster. You say, okay, it's Grissom or it's Campbell. Either one of those guys, we don't know what you're going to give. You have no idea what Grissom's going to look like at a full-time second base role. You don't know what Christian Campbell's going to look like. You could project it out based on his minor league statistics, but at the end of the day, you don't know. Tristan Casas, a little bit less of a question mark, I think. If he's healthy, I think he's proven he's going to be a solid major league hitter, right? When he's been on the field, he has given you above average production overall throughout his career so far. I don't think that's too big of a problem. Then you go to the outfield. Jarren Duran, I think you could solidify him for at the bare minimum an impact player. Wilyer, we don't really know, right? Because Wilyer It was terrible against left-handed pitching. If that's going to be who he is throughout his career, he goes from a really, really solidified, legitimate rookie impact player to that's going to have to be a platoon bat, because we can't have a guy out there who hits, 50 OPS plus against left-handed pitching every time he's in the game. So all of a sudden, he's a platoon bat. That's absolutely a question mark. Cedon was one of the worst players in the league when it came to walks last year. That's a gigantic question mark offensively. So you sit here and you look at it and you say there are a lot of question marks on this team, right? There's a lot of potential talent, absolutely. But if you can get somebody in here, regardless of what it does, that is not so much of a question mark and more of a question mark as to what the ceiling's going to look like as opposed to the floor, it improves your team. An Alex Bregman type guy comes in at second base. Does he block Grissom? Does he block Campbell? Probably. But can you also figure out how to make Campbell or Grissom fit in the outfield? Yeah, you probably could. Could you figure out a way to mix and match the infield defense a little bit? If you could trade Massa or figure something out and get these guys in the game more often than not, yeah, you could, right? I think there's a difference between having too much talent and realizing that and being able to make room on your roster for it than there is to have no talent and trying to figure out where you're going to get it from. And I think that's the big question the Red Sox need to answer. All right. All right. Now that I got that out of the way, let's get back to these trade proposals. We got Mike with a $2 super chat. Guys, by the way, you don't have to donate to get your trade proposals talked about. But if you do donate, I am going to put you at the top, because obviously I'm not just going to let you drown out there if you're going to be that generous to me. So we'll look up Moses. Dude, did you just pick the person with the hardest last name to make me say it? Like, is that what you did? So, catcher. I don't hate the idea of the Red Sox possibly getting their right-handed power bat from a catching position. I actually don't hate it at all. I am interested to see sort of what the Red Sox do with that. I know we talked about it a little bit, where they think that they think that Navarez could be that catcher. And again, we talked about, did I not spell his name right? Moses. Oh, he's a prospect? Okay. Steros. Hello? Hello? There's an accent over the E, Mike. So he played some time in AAA. He tore up AAA, a little bit. Looked pretty good in AAA. A lot of home run potential. Doesn't strike out a ton, actually. 554 ABs, only 93 strikeouts. This is an interesting guy. I wonder what his defense looks like. I mean, they're not going to, I mean, we go by errors, but he had, 7 errors at catcher last year. Minor league error stats, not really something I'm totally worried about, right? How many do you have at AAA? Catcher, you had 2. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to judge. I'd have to look at a scouting report to figure it out. Honestly, I don't hate this trade at all, actually. Franklin Arias is an incredibly, incredibly talented player, but if you could swap that for a place where you need more, right? I kind of like that idea. What up, Shane? Right, I kind of like that idea. I don't hate it. I don't hate this, Mike, at all, actually. I think I'd be okay with this trade. I don't know how many people in the Red Sox system would be okay with this trade. I think a lot of people are... really high on Franklin Arias. Poll it. Sure, we can poll it, but are we that desperate? Desperate for a catcher? I don't think this is desperation, right? You're taking a position where you've got 4 legitimate shortstop prospects and turning it into a position where you have no legitimate catching prospects outside of Johan Fran? I don't know, right? I think this is something that I don't think this is a sign of desperation, right? I think this isn't so much a sign of desperation as it is just maybe a legitimately interesting conversation. If this was I'm trading major league talent for this minor league catcher because I don't want to pay a backup catcher, then fine, maybe. But you're talking about a guy who was in the low A by the time the season ended, right? It's not like this guy was knocking on the door of Major League Baseball. All right, let's go to another one. We get another caller in here. Trade Yoenis Cespedes, Franklin Arias, Yoshida or Abreu, and Bayo for Vladdy. I'm not even going to put that in, and I'll tell you exactly why, Fenway. That is way too much. I mean, it's what it's going to take to get Vladimir Guerrero Jr. without Yoshida. You probably get it for Cespedes, Abreu, and Bayo, probably, or Arias, Cespedes, Abreu, and Bayo. I don't like that. That is way too much to give up for a 1-year rental for a guy who seems pretty hell-bent on reaching free agency, right? The big caveat with Vladdy, in my opinion, is you're gonna have to extend him, right? You have to extend him. I have not a single ounce of faith the Red Sox are going to be able to extend him. I just don't. He said no to, what was it, $360 million or something like that. It's just not going to happen. It's just not. Right, the Red Sox aren't going to pay for him to extend, especially if he's that close to free agency. They offered $700 million to Soto, though. No, I understand that. My point is, I don't think they're going to, I don't think Vladdy's going to sit here and take an extension with the Red Sox. My point is, I think Vladdy is going to get to free agency. And if he gets to free agency, I don't think the Red Sox win a bidding war. I don't have faith that they win bidding wars anymore. False, according to Poppy, we only offered $600 million to Soto. I love Poppy. It has been confirmed by multiple national reporters the Red Sox offered $700 million to Juan Soto. We know for a fact they offered $700 million to Juan Soto. I don't know if Poppy misspoke, and I love David Ortiz, but I'm going to trust the national baseball reporters, who I believe it was 4 of them, said that the Red Sox gave him $700 million. So I'm going to go with those guys and the beat reporters. If David Ortiz was right about that, that would have been a much bigger story. It was one tweet from Hector Gomez. I'm not going to take Poppy at his word for that. I'm not saying he's lying. I'm not saying Ortiz is lying, but maybe he mixed up his words. Maybe he heard something that wasn't true, right? I don't think Poppy's purposely lying for any reason. But I wouldn't sit here and be like, yeah, this is I don't think this is something that definitely happened. I think I trust the fact that 8 or 9 people have said that Red Sox offered $700 million for Juan Soto versus the one, granted, very close player to Juan Soto who said no. Did we find out if the Mick guy was joking when he said Soto Boston? Yeah, he's not in Boston, so yeah, right? My issue is with not signing or trading players other than Crochet and Chapman, and we know will play in April. All due respect to Buehler. Why are you sitting there saying that Buehler won't play in April? What do we... My question is why? Who's in here? Scoops, what are you doing? What are you doing, Scooper? This is my cat. His name is Scoops after after Rafi Big Scoops. He kind of looks like a tortilla chip. He just comes in here, riles himself up, and then runs out. So maybe we'll see him, maybe we won't. He's not really a lab cat. Is he named after MLB Scoops? Yeah, no. Love that we've been outspent by the A's. So you still didn't answer why you're convinced that the Walker Buehler thing isn't going to happen in April. And I am not going to sit here and defend the Red Sox for not spending. I still think they need to go out and spend some money. And people are going to look at the values of the contracts and be like, oh my God, we're getting crushed by the A's this offseason. The A's brought in, who is it, Luis Severino? Is that who they brought in? That's who they brought in, right? Guys, can we for a second compare the impact of a Luis Severino versus the impact of a Garrett Crochet, who they're spending no money? Right? Like, I sit here and I am taking the Garrett Crochet trade every single day. Every single day. Right? I'm taking the Crochet trade every single day. And if you aren't, then you just don't know baseball. You're just looking at the values of a contract and you're saying, boy, Red Sox messed up. They made a trade. They didn't sign Big L, right? They got Jeffrey Springs too. Who would you guys rather have? Luis Severino and Jeffrey Springs, or Garrett Crochet and Walker Buehler? Serious question. Which would you rather have? Yeah, I guess that's an important fact to remember too, versus they, right? It's not like they're spending because boy do they want to compete. No, they're spending because boy do they want their fat check. Right? So if everyone's sitting there saying, boy, I would take the Red Sox every day of the week in terms of the offseason they had compared to the A's. Why do we care that the Red Sox have spent less than the A's? Like, why do we legitimately care? So here's at the end of the day what I care about. I care about wins on the field, right? If the Red Sox are going to have more wins than the Oakland A's this year, what do we care that the Oakland A's spent more? Because they had to spend more. Because the league told them, hey, idiots, you spend or we're not giving you your paycheck at the end of the year. Like, why is this something we're complaining about? I just don't get it. And it's not like the Red Sox have spent significantly less than the A's either. Because we're a big market team, we need to spend money, we need a right-hand bat. Yeah, I'm not saying they don't need to do that. I'm saying people are sitting there saying, boy, this Red Sox offseason's worse than the A's because they spent less money. But it's just not. Right? It's just not. Yeah, but AR, whose team is better? Whose team is better right now? Based on what they did over the offseason, and you answered, right? You said you would take Crochet and Buehler. Whose team is better with the additions that were made? The answer is the Red Sox. So what does it matter if the Red Sox spent $10 million less than the A's? That's my entire point. That is my entire point, is you sit there and you say, big market teams should be better. The A's have a better lineup than us? AR, what are we doing, dude? What are we doing? There's not a single chance you're sitting there saying the Oakland Athletics have a better opening day lineup than the Boston Red Sox if the season started today. Right? There's no way we're saying that. I mean, right off the bat, just Jarren Duran and Rafael Devers alone, just those two alone are better than every single person in that lineup except maybe Brent Rooker. Then you add in the potential of Trevor Story, Tristan Casas, Wilyer Abreu, a combination of Grissom or Campbell. You add in the possibility of Anthony coming up there. I mean, we cannot sit here. You cannot sit here and say that this team is significantly worse than the A's lineup. Dude. Lawrence Butler. Well, we're putting Lawrence Butler up against Rafael Devers and Jarren Duran. Is that what we're doing? We're talking the two best players on both those teams. You are genuinely going to sit there, look me dead in the eye, and say that Brent Rooker and Lawrence Butler go toe-to-toe with Rafael Devers and Jarren Duran. And then you got to look at the supplemental pieces. Dude. No, I'm not talking about you, Prodigy. AR said the exact same thing. I mean, my God, dude, like genuinely, your AR, at the end of the day, you have not answered this question. At the end of the day, whose team has gotten better this offseason? Better. The A's or the Red Sox? Whose team has gotten better? No. Not both. Who is going to be better this season because of the additions they made? The Red Sox or the A's? Both teams did make themselves better. But if you were to put money on who's going to have the better record, who's going to have the better record by the end of the 2025 season, who are you putting your money on? Anyone can answer. Days will have a bigger win increase than us. Oh, God, AR. Even if Walker Buehler has a 5.3 ERA, how are you sitting there saying Garrett Crochet isn't going to run laps around both of the pitchers the A's picked up? Even if Walker Buehler, and that's not even to mention that you're also adding in Lucas Giolito, who's healthy this year, Garrett Whitlock, who's healthy this year, Patrick Sandoval halfway through the year, Liam Hendricks, who's healthy this year, Trevor Story, who's healthy this year, Tristan Casas, who's healthy this year. That's 6 other players. I can't have this argument anymore, chat. I can't do it. Moving on. Take two. I'm going to pull who won the argument. No, I'm not going to. Tanner Houck is underrated. Yeah, people don't talk about Tanner Houck enough. The Red Sox had a top 10 ERA last year. All right, who's got a trade? We're running through your best Red Sox trades this live stream. We got off on a tangent. Best Corbin Cat. William Marcelo Yoshida for Trout. I don't even think I'm going to put that one in, man. Trout to me doesn't make a ton of sense. He's one of the best players in baseball. He's going to be healthy this year. The A's, there's not a chance they are going to sign him or trade him. They're not going to. What do we have to add on the prospect side? Massa for Arenado and Helsley. I don't think the Cardinals want Massa's contract. I think if they wanted Massa's contract, this would have already been done. In terms of the prospects they'd need, if they're going for a long-term rebuild, which means you could include some of the younger prospects in there. Maybe a guy like Cespedes, maybe a guy like Arias, maybe a guy like Romero, right? But I just don't think they're going to want. Masataka Yoshida's contract. I just don't think it's going to happen. Red Sox need a bit of Story's contract. I could see that. I mean, it's in the realm of possibility negative. I don't think it's very likely, though, because I just don't see the Twins taking on. Well, I guess if you even out the value on the deal, I don't know. I don't think the Twins would particularly love the idea of Trevor Story. Make an offer for Tatis. Okay. This would be my offer for Tatis. By the way, they are saying no to this one. They're saying no to this one. That would be my pitch. I mean, genuinely, this is what I would actually offer. Tatis is a top 5, top 10 player in the sport. He's under contract for the next, 13 years. He's, 26, 27 years old? Is he younger than Jarren Duran? He might be younger than Jarren Duran. If he's younger than Jarren Duran, he's younger than Jarren Duran. Hey, happy birthday. He's younger than Jarren Duran. I mean, dude. I don't know, man. Yeah. That potential right there, I'm taking that every day of the week. Give me him. Give me Tatis. This looks ridiculous. I know. People are going to hate this. I know. I'm saying yes. The Padres say no to it, though. The Padres say no to it. I'm telling you, Joe, it's going to take this. It would take something insane for them to even consider it. Yeah, I think the Padres say no to this. I don't think they're getting rid of Tatis. I don't know. Yoshida from Montgomery straight up, who says no. Honestly, at this point, I say no. I just don't see any point for Montgomery at this point. You've got Sandoval coming back, who, in my opinion, maybe he has a higher ceiling. He's at a similar ceiling, right, to Jordan Montgomery. You don't really need him in the bullpen. Right? I don't know. Every day that goes by, it feels like the right-handed hitting chances go. I actually think it's the opposite, especially in the Bregman market. Lou Merlone said it today, and I think it's an interesting point. We saw Corbin Burns kind of sit there and say, look, this is where I want to be. If you can come up close to what I need, I'll take it. And he ended up going to the Arizona Diamondbacks because they came close first. The longer you hold out, the less leverage you have with other, like the second Anthony Santander signs, you're going to have even less leverage. I think the Red Sox are playing this one smart. I still think Detroit is the favorite. But, the more we hear about it, the wider that gap gets. Right? The wider that gap gets, I don't know. I think the longer this thing holds out, Bregman gets 5/160 for the Sox, in my opinion. You know what I could see? I could see the Red Sox doing like 6 years with an opt-out after 2 and front-loading the hell out of that contract. Give him like $32 million for the next 2 years, and then after his opt-out, give him 25. And so if he wants to go and get 27, okay, go and get 27 somewhere else, and we'll take you for the next 2 years. You know what I mean? Nolan Arenado for Yoshida and Hamilton. Hendricks is the only closer for us. Kind of, because I think with the closer situation, I think they really like Slayton for a potential in that role. I think they also like Luis Guerrero. There's no real reason for him to pick the Blue Jays. Unfortunately, there's no real reason for anybody to pick the Blue Jays, apparently. Sammy has Abreu for Correa, but doubt the Twins do it. So that's what I put up too. I think it's going to need to be more than that. Yoshida and Hamilton for Nolan Arenado. Does Arenado have positive trade value? No, he doesn't. I think this trade will work on paper, Eric. Yeah, it should. Yeah, it works on paper. I just don't see the Cardinals taking on Masataka Yoshida's salary. I just don't see it. That's the kind of trade Bloom would never do. Yeah, I just don't see him. If they're going to get anything for Arenado, I think it's going to be really young talents. I could see the Cardinals being like, well, you want to throw in Yoshida, give us Casas, right? I don't know. Taxes equals no one wants to sign in Canada. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like to me, Fenway, that in terms of Bregman, my guess is it would be, I think the Tigers are way down. They're probably there AAV wise. I think they're way down on years. Brent Rooker, yeah, we went over Brent Rooker a little bit earlier. I think the cost to get him would be too high. Hamilton for mid-level catcher. Yeah, I could see that too. The only thing with Hamilton, the only thing with the catcher is they seem pretty okay with the catching situation they have with Narvaez, who they picked up. I don't love that. I also don't hate it. As long as he's fine defensively, I don't really care too much what the bat gives you. As long as he's not like a 0-1, you know what I mean? Now, unless he's like a 4 or a .435 OPS or something, I don't totally care. Sign Jack Flaherty. You can never have enough arms. Where are you going to pitch Jack Flaherty? Where? When do I think Bregman will sign? I know, Mike. I'm sorry. Where do I think Bregman will sign? Or when? Could be tomorrow. Could be a month from now. Bregman in the Nationals. Luis Robert. I'm not dealing any more prospects to the White Sox. Flaherty's probably going to Baltimore. Let him go to Baltimore. Ketel Marte, I would love Ketel Marte. It's not going to happen. Ketel Marte, I mean, we'll put it in. Abreu, Yoshida, Meyer, Crawford. I did it again. Abreu, Yoshida, Meyer. This ad being here, can I get rid of this? I can. Shows you how much I use this site. Okay, for values are perfectly lined up. I'd assume that you'd take a look at this before. The Diamondbacks don't need any help in the outfield. I think that's what prevents even them remotely talking about this trade. I think Meyer entices them or is enticing a bit, but they don't need any outfield help. They've got Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Kind of DHing for him, right? I think he's still with that team. So I don't entirely know if Massa makes a ton of sense for him. The problem wouldn't be the value on paper, in my opinion. The problem would be where these guys fit in, right? Crawford, I think, would also be appealing. He's got a decently high ceiling. You're losing, Zach Gallen. You've got some talented pitchers coming up. Do they want to front load the back end to make up for the loss of the front end? Could be something there. I think these two are at least appealing. These two are probably yeah, those are good players, but do we need these players on this team enough to give away, a guy who was an MVP vote getter this year? I don't think so. I just don't know. I mean, I'll put it in a poll. We'll see. Mike, how did this one end up? Pretty even? Let me see. Hey, most people said agree. I personally don't think that Jared Jones for Crawford and Abreu, it's going to take more. Would we gain more by spending big on free agents that are left or by trading value prospects and active player for someone who's at the end of their prime? The interesting thing with that, I'll take a look at that after this, Prodigy. The interesting thing with that conversation, Fenway Fanatic, is you're going to be signing a free agent who's technically at the end of their prime, right? Bregman, you're probably going to get 30 through 33 are going to be solid years, and then you're going to start to see a bit more of a decline. Santander's probably in a similar boat. Jurickson Profar, I think, is well into that. Randall Grichuk, I don't even want to talk about Randall Grichuk. So I don't know, man. I don't know what the better answer is there. I think you're taking on less money, right? But you're going to have to give up more major league talent to get someone via a trade. I don't know. Where do I think Bregman will sign? My gut tells me it ends up being Detroit. I think there's legitimate interest there, especially with AJ Hinch being there and them just being in the postseason. I think eventually they figure something out. Alec Bohm. You like Jurickson Profar? I don't hate Jurickson Profar. My issue with Jurickson Profar is you go from Jurickson Profar, right? He had a fantastic year this year. He was great, right? Great. But, every other year, last year he's good. He's been good for the most part every year he's been in San Diego. San Diego this year or last year he was solid after he got traded there. He was really good this year. We knew that. Solid with San Diego this year. I just is 15 home runs enough to put up with a lot of strikeouts? He does walk a lot of strikeouts. And he's a 726 OPS throughout his career, right? I don't know, even if this comes down to a 110, right? Maybe as a season like this one, right? Maybe as a season like 2018 where it's 254, 355, 458. 793 would be solid in the middle of this lineup, but is that worth it? I mean, the defense isn't good, right? He's not great defensively from what I remember. Maybe I'm wrong. Boy, was he not good at second base, huh? Man, he's played a ton of positions. Yeah, he's not a very good defender. He plays at first base, but it's only 72 games. He's not a terrible defender in center, but, you've got Cedon, you've got Jarren Duran, so, what's the point? Right field, I mean, yeah, he looks fine in right field here. It's only 33 games, and he'd have to play right field at Fenway, so not a good third baseman, so I wouldn't put him there over Rafi. Shortstop, don't think you need it. Second base, please don't put him at second base, my God. Left field, not great, right? I don't know. Let me pull up his baseball savant, just out of curiosity. This might crash my computer. We'll see. The offensive metrics are good. He doesn't strike out a ton this year. He walks a ton, which is great. His batting earned value was fantastic. Not a crazy good base runner. I don't really care too much about your base running ability when you've got other guys on this team that can be good base runners. All this is good. Barrel percentage, okay, whatever. Hard hit rate was still solid. He squared up a lot of pitches. Not a super fast bat speed. Don't love that as he gets older. My big thing is this right here, right? The outs above average. There's not really any truly redeeming qualities. It's not like he's quick and can get to balls. He does have a good arm, but it's not super accurate. He doesn't, his range is kind of terrible. Has it ever been solid? Last year was brutal, huh? Defensively, my God. At least his arm value was good in 22. But again, we're going on 3 years ago for that. 2020 doesn't, I don't even look at statistics in 2020. 2019, yeah, he's just never been a good defender. I don't know. I look at that and I say, right? Will he be able to continue the bat, and will he? He's versatile defensively, though. Yeah, but that's kind of like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not super high on Profar. Maybe Profar for like a 1 or 2 year deal I'd be okay with. Anything more than that, I'm out. Yeah, that's my problem, Jack. Baseball trade values, I think, doesn't give Jared Jones the value he really has on the open market. One, because pitching right now is at a premium, and this doesn't really adjust for market values. This is just plain base values, right? Two, I think they're looking at what he's done and not totally what he could be. They don't even match up in terms of the two of them combined. You would need to add something to it to even make it remotely close. I don't even think this gets accepted. Major overpay? Yeah. It's a low probability this happens. It's not going to happen, right? Jared Jones has a much higher ceiling than Cutter. Jared Jones is younger with more control. Cutter. Also, they have him as a long relief pitcher, which is interesting. For the Pirates, this would be a really, really dumb trade. Unless they're just flat out looking to trade. There's no reason, not a single reason for the Pirates to be interested in this at all. Put Willier in that trade. It's going to match up value-wise. We've done this before. I did a whole video on it. We've done this before. It's going to take more than this. And I think we know that they're looking for outfielders, right? So, yeah, this would be an overpay on the Red Sox part just based on this. But, again, we go to the Pirates. 2025 Pirates. So let's see who they have in the outfield, right? Brian Reynolds, probably not going anywhere. Solid player. O'Neal Cruz, probably not going anywhere. Solid player. This guy's probably not great. I'm curious if they make Nick York an outfielder or an infielder. I'm curious as to where he ends up. Yeah, I mean, we know that they're looking for an outfielder. I just don't know if Will Abreu's that outfielder. Yeah, they just got Jack Sawinski too. I don't know. Ji-hwan Bae is in there. I don't know. Ji-hwan Bae kind of bit the bullet this year. My God, 463. That is terrible. Like that is an awful statistic right there. Good Lord. But this is my point, right? Like you look at it and on baseball trade values and say, well, this works. But I think in real life, I think the Pirates would want a Marcelo Meyer in there. And I don't think the Red Sox are willing to do that anymore. Or I just don't think so. Day to your trade, what is it? Ernie Clement for I didn't, Prodigy. Put it in again. I'm sorry. What's up, Scott? Bohm was an all-star. Bohm would be an interesting one. Abreu for Big Christmas. Big Christmas isn't enough an everyday player, I don't think. Ernie Clement fits Pareles. I don't put Pareles in anything. I think his value is too low. Who does Ernie Clement? Prodigy, who are these guys coming out of? I've heard of Matt Clement. Ernie Clement. Third baseman, shortstop. He's a right-handed hitter. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I'm trading for him, especially not Pareles. In division, for a more of a. I mean, his WAR was pretty solid this year. He was a good player. I'm not gonna say he was a bad player. He was a solid defensive player for sure. Yeah, he pitched a little bit. Yeah, he's a really solid third baseman and shortstop. Not a great second baseman, but who cares if you're that good at third base? Yeah. Oops. 28 years old, though. I don't know, man. I don't totally see. Maybe you could tell me why you would trade for Ernie Clement here. What's the reasoning? When do I think Bregman will sign? I honestly have no idea. He could sign tonight. He could sign in 3 weeks. I genuinely don't know. Honestly, outside of Bregman, who's left for like guys we should be focused on? I don't really think there's anyone else. I still think all roads lead to Arenado. Yeah. It feels that way. I don't love it. It feels that way. I don't love it. Because to me, that also makes me feel like all roads lead to... It feels like all roads lead to Tristan being traded next year, and I don't like that. Trade for Ryan McMahon. So I responded to you, Tracy. Ryan McMahon to me doesn't really make sense for a Red Sox trade target, and I'll tell you exactly why. First and foremost, he's a left-handed hitter, right? So he's not really doing much in terms of, and it's not like he was better against lefties than it was righty this year. Oh well, it was, but it still wasn't fantastic, right? I ate my words there. It still wasn't exactly incredible. It was above average for sure, and it was definitely solid. But again, is it enough where you could sit there and be like, yeah, we're gonna play him against everybody? When overall, right, he's been historically a pretty average to below average bat. Defensively, he's pretty good. I think he's a good third baseman. Yeah, he's a good third baseman. He's a pretty solid second baseman. Not great, but he's solid. I just don't think in terms of what the Red Sox are looking for, Ryan McMahon really makes a ton of sense. Like, could we get, like, in all honesty, is this what we could get from Vaughn Grissom at second base? I think this is absolute. I don't think you move Rafael Devers for Ryan McMahon, right? I think you can put Von Grissom in there, and you could probably get close to, if not better, than a 95 OPS plus, at least in my opinion. So I don't know if this really makes a team better. It feels like you're just shuffling the deck a bit. Does that make sense? It'd be interesting to see who gets moved in the future if our prospects find their way into the lineup. Yeah. Who's the odd man out? He's a good defensive player for one. His bat has improved a lot, and whenever he plays the Sox, usually pretty good in Fenway. Lastly, right-hand bat with control until 2029. Those are valid reasons, Prodigy. I just think the I think the big thing for me would be trading Paredes in division. I really don't want to get rid of, because realistically, that is the one player in your system right now who is projected to be a frontline starting pitcher. Like, that is a dude who when healthy will be a top 100 prospect, I think, very easily. So that's my fear. What would I trade for Ernie Clement? I'd probably be open to trading some of the lower level shortstops, right? If they're not planning on bringing back Bo Bichette, which it doesn't even sound like they're considering. I'd be down to do that. I'd be okay with trading like a Fitz, even a Sandlin. Like, that'll probably come back to bite us. I just don't think as hard as a Paredes. Nazan going anywhere? Not right now. Nazan's value is way too low for them to trade him. He's still incredibly young. You said Fitz? Okay, so you said Fitz and Paredes, and that to me makes it even more. I would hate to see the Red Sox give up so much pitching talent for, and you're right, he's a really solid player. But the question I always ask when I'm making the trades is, could they find this production immediately from someone else? I don't know. Pete Alonso? No. I don't think anyone's looking at Pete Alonso. The Sox were in talks with the Guardians for Jose Ramirez. Where did you see that? Because does Jose Ramirez have a no-trade clause? If he has a no-trade clause, he's not getting traded. He wants to be in Cleveland really badly. Even if he would say yes to the Red Sox, I think the literal only reason anyone put that out there is because he was like visibly kind of upset about the fact that, full no-trade clause, he's not leaving. He's not leaving. What? Yeah, he's not leaving. I don't know who brought that up. That's not going to happen. Yeah, the cost for Jose Ramirez would be ridiculous. Who wants to be in Cleveland? Apparently he does. Oh boy, big trade. Polar Bear left in the cold. Yeah, I don't think. No, I wouldn't take Pete Alonso at DH. I just don't think the money's worth the value you're getting from Pete. I just don't. Trade John Henry for Mike Trout. I'm in. Would I rather get locked in the big right-handed bat with the guys left on the market, or let rookies play and get Vladdy next year? So the first thing we got to do is assume that the Red Sox are going to pay Vladdy, right? I just don't have faith in it, guys. I want them to so bad, and he makes so much sense for the Red Sox. regardless of whether or not you trade Tristan. I just don't have faith. Jeff Passan tweet. I think they will be very in on Vlad. You're probably right. They will be. I just don't know. I just don't know that they win a bidding war. I just don't know. How about I email John Henry? Yeah, live on stream. Let my true feelings show. If it's not about the Red Sox, dude, I don't know. I mean, okay. Not Jeff Passan. There's no Jeff Passan tweet. There's no Jeff Passan tweet. Who else would be in the bidding war though? I bet the Dodgers are in that bidding war. Yankees are going to be in that bidding war, although he probably is downhill on that. The Blue Jays are in that bidding war, and that's like the one guy who I think the Blue Jays could actually win back. If the Mets don't bring back Pete, I would assume they're in that bidding war. The Giants, I could see the Giants in that bidding war. I think there'll be a lot of teams in on Vladdy. Tyler Fitzgerald, our next trade target. Tyler Fitzgerald. Ah, crap. Why did I do that? For whom? Younger player. Could play second base, right-handed. He was pretty solid this year, huh? Not a ton of games, but he was really solid. His value's got to be pretty high now. How was he defensively? Hey, pitched 3 innings. What was the ERA? A nice 9. This is just quickly, by the way. He's really good defensively. Or at least league average defensively, which isn't bad. All right, let's see. Giants, Sox. There we go. Tyler. Ooh. Wait. Willy Adames, who they just signed to a $160 million contract. Is that right? I think it's more than that. Is medium in terms of availability. Imagine that. That'd be hilarious. Let me see. Who else they say is available? Willy Adames, Matt Chapman, Camilo Doval, who I think should absolutely be available. My God. Anyways. That would be a very hilarious thing to do, though. Sign him to a fat contract and then just pawn it off on someone else. You know what, guys? We were thinking about this one. We put the pen to paper. I don't know. Who'd you say it was for? Who'd you think it was for? Selling with Cutter and Cespedes. I don't know what that would be value-wise. Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't be totally opposed to the Red Sox doing this. Let's put this out. This is a good one to put into chat. So Tyler Fitzgerald, again, not a super familiar name. Let's do just straight for Cutter and see what that gives us. I mean, that works, right? The Giants' rotation isn't incredible. They could use a sort of mid-rotation starter. I'm going to bring up Tyler Fitzgerald's baseball reference. We're going to talk about him a little bit, and then I want you guys to vote. Tyler Fitzgerald, let's take a look at it. Okay, so this is what we're looking at. About a 3-WAR player last year in just 96 games. So you break that out. What is that over? Actually, we could just do the math, Corbin. We don't need to try and figure this out in our head and look like an idiot. 2.8 divided by 96 times 162. So he was almost a 5-WAR player last year, which would have been really solid. OPS was great. Home runs, especially at a guy for like San Francisco, hitting 15 in 96 games, and not terrible. What would that break out to? Let's do that math again. Again, above average. We'll say average defensive second baseman. I don't want to give him too much credit here. So he was like, he was like 25 home runs ish. That was what he was on pace for, and that'd be for Cutter. Honestly, this is a good one too. I don't hate this trade at all. I know people love Cutter. But he was a super productive player. Let's see. Giants, Sox, they agree. What do we think, chat? Nightbot for Jack Gilligan, a copy machine. He had 22 walks and 108 strikeouts. Yeah, I mean, the strikeouts are a problem, but that was also his first full season in Major League Baseball, right? Are we just assuming that could never get better? I don't know. I mean, yeah, he struck out a lot this year, and the walks were definitely below average. I'm curious to see what it was like in the minors. Was he always a super high strikeout guy, though? Let's look at 2023. Yeah, he was always a big strikeout guy. So it's definitely a lot of strikeouts. But he didn't have a 280 average, so he's making a lot of contact. He's just a guy who likes to swing it. The difference between him and a guy like, say, Don, though, is that he makes a lot more contact. Much as I love, say, Don. Right, 831 OPS. Do you take the strikeouts with that? It's a good point. We definitely need to talk about it. See what he's like in Double-A. That's not a big enough sample size in Double-A. Let's take a look. Yeah, 37 to 171. Strikeout rate's not great. Let's keep that in mind. But he is extremely productive. He is extremely productive when he makes contact. Like if the average is that high, are you really going to notice that amount of strikeouts? That's my question. Like if a guy strikes out 30% of the time, need more pitching for a Cutter. That's fair. Japanese pitchers out of our reach. I don't know, man. They don't want to come here. That'd be sweet if we got that on the chat. That'd be sweet. O'Neal hit 30 home runs and we noticed every strikeout. But that's also because O'Neal would go through stretches where... So here's the difference between O'Neal and this guy, right? You look at it and you say, boy, that's a lot of strikeouts, right? We're going to notice that a lot. And you know what? Maybe we do. But you come over here and you say, okay, so the guy was getting on base 33.4% of the time, and he was hitting a ball into fair territory and getting on base 28% of the time, right? You come back over to Tyler O'Neill, who I think actually had a similar on base percentage, but the hits were... So yeah, he had about the same on base percentage. I was right about that. But then he was getting a hit 24% of the time. So that's 4% less. And I understand that's not a ton less, right? And you're sitting there being like, okay, Corbin, like, are we really going to notice that? But if you are not making, he just simply wasn't making as much contact as Tyler Fitzgerald was. So I'm curious if it would be more noticeable with O'Neill, or would it be more noticeable with Fitzgerald? I got to be honest, I think it's more noticeable with O'Neill just because he's just simply not making as much overall contact. And I don't know if that's a true statement or not. That's just simply my personal opinion here. Plus, he'd play a solid second base, which I think is a big difference. What happened to Ryan Fitzgerald? He went to Kansas City. I think he's still in the minor leagues there. So they want to play where it's warm. Interesting Get Pete Alonso? No. Yeah, that's an interesting idea there, versatility. I didn't think about it that way. But at the same time, too, then why are they choosing Chicago where it's just about as cold? It's just about as outside. You know what I mean? Had to be an MLB, right? No, he was minor league. He was minor league row 5. He was minor league row 5. We loved Ryan. Ryan Fitzgerald was a cool guy. Yeah, that's an interesting conversation to have, versatility. But, yeah, again, at the same time, then why do all these guys... No, because you've got Seiya, you've got Shota, you've got Roki, who's meeting with the Cubs, right? That's 3 of the last 4, 3 of the last 5, I guess. I don't know how connected they were to Massa. 3 of the last 5 that have had interest in Chicago / went to Chicago. That has to mean something, right? Talk about pitchers, not players. Okay, then fine. The last 3 bigger name pitchers, Shota, Imanaga went to the Cubs. Roki Sasaki is interested in the Cubs. And Yoshinobu Yamamoto went to the Dodgers. So that's 2 out of the last 3 of these pitchers who are choosing to meet with Chicago and not really considering Boston. What would it take to probably lose Jared Jones from the Pirates? Probably either Tristan or Meyer. I think any big name pitcher at this point that you're going to put out there is probably going to require Tristan or Meyer. And I don't think the Red Sox really shouldn't be super interested in it unless it's like a perfect lineup. I don't know. Could be a time zone thing too. What are they like an hour or 2 behind Boston? I don't know if at that point, if you're going all the way over here, if an hour or 2 is going to make that much of a difference. Maybe it does. I don't know. I like that stat a lot, Jackson. I like that stat a lot, Jackson. So this is the first one. Congratulations to who put that up there. Was it Red Sox stuff? It was Red Sox stuff. You were the first person in the last hour and 50 minutes. Hour and 50 minutes to get a trade everyone or more people agree on. What's up, Wes? We're legit contenders with one more arm. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm all in on Jeff Hoffman, I think, at this point. I think I'm all in on Jeff Hoffman. Wish there's a way to view this page without ads. It's driving me nuts. Dude, if you could get this, like these 2 seasons, he really figured it out these last 2 seasons. Like you get this from the right-hand side of your bullpen. 2.28 ERA. 184 ERA plus is stupid. 254 whip, or FIP, so it really wasn't him getting lucky on the mound. He's pitching up to his ERA, basically, right? About a quarter of a run higher. Probably a little bit less. His whip was less than 1. He was striking out 12 batters per 9 inning. He was just walking 2.7. This is the last 2 years, right? It's a fairly decent sample size. I know pitchers are relatively volatile, but he's only 31. Oh, man, what was he in high leverage spots? Let me see that. Let me get a glimpse, huh? Pitching role, no. 2 runners in scoring position is ridiculous, huh? Look at his statistics with runners in scoring position. Hitters hit just 200 with a 552 OPS and a 52 OPS plus. That's ridiculous. Just 1 home run with runners in scoring position last year. It's not like it wasn't a small sample size. It was 28 full games. That's crazy. He was disgusting. Give me the gosh darn leverage. That's literally am I losing my mind? That's literally a statistic here. Pitching roll, base occupied, hit location. Someone pointed out to me. I'm going crazy. First or second out. Leverage. I hate that they don't do ERA for some of these statistics. It drives me nuts. But look at the high leverage. You get this dude in a high leverage situation. He's nails. Not great in medium leverage situations, but who cares? We don't need him in a medium leverage situation. Game on the line, give me Hoffman. Give me Hoffman in the 7th or 8th. 57 OPS. This guy was disgusting in high leverage spots. Disgusting in high leverage spots. You get this guy, your bullpen is fantastic. Your bullpen's fantastic. I want him. Hoffman or Scott, I go back and forth. I want Hoffman. Yeah, hey, this is the last month of the year until next October, hopefully November, where you don't have Red Sox baseball. How many new Sox players are still rehabilitating? Are we hoping? It seems like some of our Sox players are just hoping on hope. Peter, what? How many players are still rehabilitating? None of the ones from last year. Liam Hendricks will be good to go. Giolito will be good to go. Whitlock will be good to go. Trevor Story will be good to go. Tristan Casas will be good to go. At least for right now, right? The only ones that are truly, Michael Fulmer should be good to go. The only ones that are really still truly rehabbing is Patrick Sandoval, and that's, you just signed him. So I don't know. Not only would Hoffman be great leverage, but he's a perfect fit for Hendricks. Can't close. Yeah, give me Hoffman. What is it going to take to get Jeff Hoffman? Why do we sign Masataka? Good question. At the time, Masataka made a lot of sense, right? You sign him. It was before the Christian Campbell explosion. It was before the Roman Anthony explosion. It was before. Was it before you got Willy Abreu? Or I think it was after you got Willy Abreu. When did you sign Masa? It was 2023, right? So after you get Willy Abreu, but Willier's not in Major League Baseball yet. Yeah, 23. Before Willy Abreu hits Major League Baseball. So your outfield was looking at like Jarren Duran in 2022 was not a good player, right? So you're looking for, okay, you need to improve outfield, right? After coming off of this, right? You're sitting there saying, okay, maybe this guy isn't cut out to be a big leaguer. We were having that conversation going into this year. The situation's so much different. So we can look back 2-3 years later and be like, why'd they sign Masa? Your answer is you didn't have Duran playing the way. By the way, terrible defense. You had Verdugo, who's coming up on a contract year. You had Hunter Renfroe, who you didn't really love. I think that was actually after you had Hunter Renfroe. Adam Duvall, who was on a 1-year contract. Willier wasn't projected to be a Rookie of the Year finalist. Roman Anthony was nobody still coming into 2023. Christian Campbell was nobody coming into 2023. There were no out prospects on the horizon. There was no real impact back coming up for the Red Sox outfield-wise. It made a lot of sense at the time. It was a good signing at the time. The problem is 3 years later, Roman Anthony emerges, Christian Campbell emerges, Cedon is a major league player. I think we've established that. To what degree? I don't know. Willier emerges, and all of a sudden he doesn't fit in this outfield, and then he's stuck to DH, and that's when he became a problem. So I think there's a big difference here. Sox content brought one to the table who I do want to absolutely include in this. If we don't get another righty bat that's good again, we're going to be mid again. No, I don't think we're going to be mid again. My only issue with them not getting a right-handed bat, they need to. And I'll tell you exactly why they need to. Not because I think they are going to be bad again. I think it's because what is going to end up happening is you're going to end up relying too much on young players. And it's hard to sit there and say, especially after the last couple of seasons that we saw. I mean, Tristan was good right away, but even he struggled a bit. Duran took years to find his path, right? Willier had his struggles in 2024, his first full season. Say Don had his struggles, right? You're fully expecting guys like Anthony, Campbell, and Grissom to be your right-handed bat, and I think that scares me a little bit. Because that's just way, way, way too much pressure to put on Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, and Vaughn Grissom to be your absolute dominant bat that you need in a lineup. One of the three of those guys. Now, the odds are one of the three of them is going to be an impact bat. I think you look at the odds and you say all the ceilings are really high. Odds are one of them figures it out. My money, at least immediately, would be Grissom because he has that experience. Right? So no, I think they still have the talent to be a playoff contending team. The problem is you're relying too much on that talent upside and not so much that talent floor. And I think that's the biggest point here. You need to make the floor solid. Who do you think will have the first Red Sox home run of the year? I'm going to say Story does. I'm going to say Story starts off the year hot. Called it problem is. Yeah, true. It's not totally a huge problem, but with the teams, how many wins would I project right now? Well, let me think, right? Here's my rationale because people are going to hate when I say this. I'm going to say the team's at 87, 88 wins. And I'll tell you exactly why before we freak out. Oh my God, they didn't spend, Corbin. There's no way. Hold on. Their rotation got significantly better this offseason. Right off the bat, Garrett Crochet is projected to be a 4-win player, okay? Walker Buehler, I understand last year wasn't great. I always go back to Chris Sale. We sat there with Chris Sale. He's cooked. He's done. Everyone kept saying, look, folks. Everyone kept saying he's just learning to pitch again. He goes to Atlanta. He remembered how to pitch again. He was a Cy Young candidate. I'm not saying Walker Buehler's going to be a Cy Young candidate. I'm just saying I think he's going to be better than the 5 ERA he had. I think Giolito's going to be better than Pivetta. I think Houck's going to be a solid mainstay. I think Bayo's going to be better, more consistent, I'm going to say, than he was in 2024. Right off the bat, I think you're a couple wins better. Right? You were an 81-win team in 24. I think that brings you up to an 84, 85, 86-ish range. I think the bullpen is about the same, so I don't think that's going to totally. I would say the bullpen's slightly better than last year. I think Hendricks, Chapman, Wilson are going to be good. I think that's a little bit ambitious, but I think they're going to be good. I think there's a lot of talent. I think specifically Justin Slayton being in his second year and being healthy is going to be massive. I also think Whitlock. I think a lot of people are underrating the addition of Whitlock to that bullpen. I think that's a big part of it. So I think the bullpen's a bit better. I still stick in that 84 to 86 range. Here's where I think the last 3 or 4 wins come from. Oh, we lost Tyler O'Neill's 30 home runs. Healthy Trevor Story. Oh boy, we're relying on Trevor Story to be healthy again. Yeah, you have to. You're going into the season. He's healthy. You got to expect him to stay healthy. That's probably going to be like 20 bombs. Tristan Casas is healthy. That's going to be upwards of 30 home runs. Boom, you already got 50, right? A healthy Rafael Devers, fantastic. Jarren Duran coming off the best season of his career. Even if he doesn't put up numbers what he did last year, I still think he's in between the last 2 seasons he had. Here, I'm on him right now. I'll show you. Even if he's in between a 121, 129 OPS plus, he's going to be a very solid frontline pitcher for you or hitter for you. I think getting Grissom or Campbell at second base is going to raise the floor and the ceiling of that spot. I think Cedon is a little bit better than he was last year. I still don't think he's great, but I think he's closer to league average with the bat. Connor Wong, I think, improves a bit defensively. I still think he's pretty poor defensively overall next season, but I think he's still solid, and that's where your last 3 wins come in. Now, if you add in a Bregman or a trade for even, see, I don't know how much Arenado improves in terms of just strictly offense. Defensively, absolutely does add some wins as well. Let me think. Like if you add in a Bregman, I think you're over. I think you have the potential to be over 90 wins, especially with Christian Campbell and Roman Anthony coming up. And then you add in Marcel Meyer to the back half of that season. You add in Patrick Sandoval in the back half of that season, right? And all of a sudden, all these pieces are coming together, and we don't know. I'm not going to sit here and try and predict injuries because at the end of the day, we don't know what those injuries are going to be. It could be to anyone at any time. I'm not going to sit here and predict this. Healthy right now on paper, I think they're 88 wins max. Is that a playoff team? Yes. Is that the division contender we wanted? No. Add in a Bregman, I think it could be. AL is weak right now. I just don't think this team is a sub 500 anyway, to be honest. No, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be a sub 500 team. If they're a sub 500 team, something went really wrong. I think something went really wrong. Healthy big house. Yeah. It's a big addition, isn't it? Saw an X, the Sox can win 95 games, then hell, maybe they win 95 games. Whitlock, Criswell, Crawford, adding length to the bullpen should help a lot. Absolutely. If they lose that on Bregman, who's their next target, don't know if there will be one, if I'm being totally honest. Everyone was about the same as last year? No. Last year, everyone said, there were so many people saying this team was going to win 70 games. No. There was not this. I'll bring up my YouTube video predicting the 2024 season where I said they'd win 84, by the way. I said 84, and then I said maximum I think they get to is 88. This season, I think the median they get to is 88. I think they could get up to 90, as they are right now. If they add another player, then you get 93, 94. Right? To say that this team, that everyone was about the same as with this team as they were last year, I just don't think is true. How come Alex Bregman is not getting the money Rafael Devers got? Bregman is older, but quite simply. I said everyone would have around the same season as last year. Yeah. I mean, you hope that with every player ever. Right? Yes, every single player in Major League Baseball you hope has a similar season, if not a better season going into the year. Have you ever sat there and hoped that any player has a worse season than he had last year? Maybe someone on the Yankees? But that's it? You're assuming only regression, no regression, only progression. They have not done enough in the bullpen. How many wins did we have last year? If you don't know that, dude, then why are we arguing right now? Like you should know. If you've been watching the Red Sox, you should, like, you're sitting here trying to yell at me about stuff. How many wins did they have last year, AR? I'm assuming no regression, only progression, and they have not done enough to pen right now after losing Jansen Martin. So the problem with that, Ralph, is you're only assuming regression, right? You have to sit in the middle somewhere. I like, at what point did I say stop watching once we got eliminated? I think 80 and 81. That's not even 162 games. You sit here and at no point I even said I think Jarren Duran is somewhere in between what he did this year and last year. I don't understand how that's like a, man, that guy's only going to get better from here. No, I think we saw the max of what Jarren Duran could offer. In terms of the bullpen, I think they're in a similar spot. Because I think the addition of Garrett Whitlock, which no one is considering as part of the bullpen additions. The addition of Cooper Criswell, which no one is considering as bullpen additions. A healthy Justin Slayton, which no one is talking about. Everyone's just writing off Liam Hendricks, so he's going to be terrible. I don't know. I think you're sitting there and you're saying, like, what are we doing? You're saying 80, 81 wins? Yeah, that's right where they finished. Yeah, and then you also have to consider the division they're playing in got significantly worse. I think that's an all-around agreement. Right? Like, you can't sit there and tell me the Rays, the Orioles, or the Blue Jays as they stand right now are in a better spot, or a better spot in general than they were last year. Roberto Colon, thank you so much for becoming a member of this channel, my friend. I did not miss you, I promise. Sorry. Right, I don't know. There's more to look at than just, boy, they can't repeat what they did last year. Are plus 9 wins? I honestly don't think so. Garrett Crochet has the second best odds to win the Cy Young. So let's just go by WAR, which is wins above replacement. Tariq Skubal won the Cy Young last year. Hold on before we break down on Corbin. He had 6.3 WAR. Let's say Garrett Crochet comes in third or fourth in Cy Young voting. Let's say he comes in 10th in Cy Young voting. Let's say he's got 5 wins above replacement. So all of a sudden you go from, again, 81 wins last season to 86. Now you're one player alone, hypothetically based on WAR, you are 2 wins away from, I said 88 wins, right? You're 2 wins away from that. Now let's say he has 4. Okay, fine. We'll bring it down to a modest 4 WAR for Garrett Crochet next year. I don't think it's going to be, if he's healthy, I think it's going to be higher than that. Let's say it's 4. That is 80. That's what, 85 wins? Okay, so now we're 3 wins away. So you got to somehow make up 3 wins throughout a season. You don't think a combination of Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, Vaughn Grissom, even Oscar Narvaez can get to 3 wins as a total of 4 people? Corbin, you lost Tyler O'Neill. Okay, well, you have to assume Story's going to be healthy. You have to assume Cost is going to be healthy because neither of those guys are injured right now. You have to assume Giolito's going to be better than Nick Pivetta. So Nick Pivetta had what? 1.8 WAR. Let's say Giolito. Let's say he's what's Nick Pivetta's best season with the Sox? 2.5 WAR with a 4.56 ERA. All right, so what is that? I mean, come on, what are we doing here, right? He's got a 4 ERA. He's a 3-win player. All right, boom. There's another win, and there's another win. So now you're at 87 wins. Okay, so let's keep playing this game, shall we? Rafael Devers is healthy. That's probably another win. Again, you have to assume these things because you cannot just sit there and say, well, Corbin, they're going to get injured. Sure, there are going to be injuries, but you're not going to sit here and assume that your best players are going to be injured throughout a season. You just can't do that coming into a season. So, boom, all of a sudden, there you go. 88 wins. Don't forget Buehler. Yeah, all right, yeah, then perfect. Buehler over Criswell, right? What are we doing? Defy the odds and become stars. I don't know how you sit there and say between 4 players, if they get to 3 WAR is becoming stars. That's below level production. That is below level production. I don't know if you're just coming in here and ranting or if you're talking about me saying between Christian Campbell, Roman Anthony, Vaughn Grissom, and that guy Narvaez, 3.1 WAR. I don't know. Yeah, I don't hate the Ha-Seong Kim thing, Sox. The only thing I get really frustrated with the Ha-Seong Kim is the fact that, at the end of the day, he's not going to be able to contribute until what, May or June, and at that point, are you going to need him? Right? If Story's healthy and playing every day, and Christian Campbell's still tearing it up in AAA, is Ha-Seong Kim coming up? 99 wins? I didn't say 90. Who said 99 wins? I don't think anyone said. Oh, Mike. But just use him as super utility? Yeah, I guess. But at that point, how do you fit him in every single day if you don't, I don't know. I just, there's not really a perfect fit with Ha-Seong Kim. Like, if he was healthy at the beginning of the season, I'd be all in. I'd love him. I just think him coming in later, you know what I mean? Like, him coming in later changes things, in my opinion. I haven't seen much on Profar. Profar wants a 3-year deal. I don't give Profar a 3-year deal. I would give him a 1 or 2 year deal. You're not buying him for 3 months. You're wanting. Yeah, no, I understand. It wouldn't be like, oh my God, all right, it's only 3 months. But my point is, by the time 3 months is up, what is this team going to look like? We should. I think that's not a perfect take saying we shouldn't sign one because they're missing the first 8. I mean, come on. That sucks. We have to consider that has to be part of the conversation. The point is to get better immediately. What are you going to do in the short term? Right? If your idea was to get someone in here from the outside to improve second base, then they're clearly not comfortable with Grissom. I sit here, right, and I understand, it's 3 or 4 years versus the 8 weeks, and that's fine. You're right. At the end of the day, it probably pays off a lot, but my point is, if he's going to miss the first 8 weeks of the season, where are the Red Sox going to be at the point he comes back? And it probably won't be 8 weeks. If it's June, it's what, 3 games in March, all of April, all of May, and at some point in June. You're probably talking more about 10 weeks he's missing for the first, couple months of the season here. Where are the Red Sox going to be? If Christian Campbell keeps tearing it up, if Vaughn Grissom comes in here and tears it up, where do you put Ha-Seong Kim for the next 3 years? That's my point. There's a ton of versatility there, and you can put him second base, shortstop, third base. You move him all over the place, and he's a right-handed bat for sure. But is it worth signing this guy for 3 or 4 years just for him to be a super utility player by the time he comes back? That's my point. If he had come in and started the season, and then in 10 weeks we're like, boy, where do we put Christian Campbell? Also applies to Bregman? No, because Bregman, here's my point about it being 8 weeks being a major consideration here, is because if you put Bregman in immediately and he's the one who's tearing it up, but you've also got Christian Campbell and Vaughn Grissom tearing it up, then you can find room for those two elsewhere, either full-time in the outfield or you can keep them in AAA. To me, it wouldn't make a ton of sense to bring in, it's an entirely different conversation, I think. If you're talking about, and again, if Ha-Seong Kim could start the season at second base and he could come in here and he's the one who's tearing it up, then you find a way to it's the same conversation as Bregman, but it's not, because you are going to be opening the door for one of these guys who's younger, who has more control, and who's cheaper to do what Ha-Seong Kim was doing. Maybe not to his level, obviously, but maybe to do what he's doing. Grissom couldn't tear up a sheet of paper. I think a lot of people are going to be wrong about Grissom this year. Right, the difference is Bregman's an immediate impact. And an immediate impact, whereas you can get a good situational feel for where Bregman is at versus where these prospects are at and everything else. And you can make room in the outfield for a Christian Campbell or a Vaughn Grissom. Can't really make room in the outfield for a Ha-Seong Kim. So Ha-Seong Kim, the guy you paid, becomes your utility player. Whereas if you were Bregman, the Christian Campbell or the Von Grissom becomes a utility player, and there are easier ways to sneak them into the lineup than there would be for Ha-Seong Kim into the lineup. And honestly, I could eat my words because they could sign Ha-Seong Kim and he could be absolutely incredible. And I'm not saying he can't be absolutely incredible. That's not my point. I think Ha-Seong Kim makes a lot of sense for the Red Sox. My point, how do you spell Ha-Seong? You know what? If I just look up Kim, I bet it comes up. Did I not put, maybe I put Hee-Seong Kim. Yeah, so it's second base, shortstop, or third base. He's a great player. He's a great player. Like, these 2 seasons were incredible. You get this. You get this at a second base, you're in a good spot. You know what I mean? A lot of walks, not a ton of Ks. He's going to give you a little bit of pop, a lot of RBIs, a lot of doubles. Incredible defense. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with it all day. I just think the 8 weeks is more important and needs to be talked about. He can replace at third base very easily. Yeah, I just, the defensive run save drive me nuts, by the way. He's a really good third baseman. Again, I there's nothing against him. I just think, like, once you get to a point in the season, and maybe this is, you know what? The only way, the way I could see this working, Sox content, the way I would like this, what would he'd be coming back by probably mid-June? Probably mid-June, right? Any news tonight? No news tonight. Yeah, but if we're gonna do 50 games for Rafi at DH, we're gonna sit Massa for 50 games, and Kim's only gonna get 50 games. Like, you're gonna be able to figure out a way to get Kim maybe 100, 110, 100-ish games a season. I don't know, right? I don't know. The way I could see this working, and the way I would like it to work if they got this guy would be, he comes back mid-June, right? The trade deadline's late July. They sort of pull him in a utility role until then, and they trade Massa at the deadline and move. Then it becomes, you could just cycle, right? You could just cycle. I don't know. I'm not sitting here poo-pooing the idea. I think it'd be great. I think it's really important, those 8 to 10 weeks that they're going to miss out. Okay, chat. I thought this was an interesting show tonight. It was a little bit different than what we normally do. A little bit less structured than what we normally do. I like to sort of just rock it through trades. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about Ha-Seong Kim a little bit in a video. I don't know. I'm thinking about it now. You always get the gears turned in Sox content. So what pick, Mike? Regardless, I thought we had a good time. Agree to disagree? I don't think we're disagreeing here. I just think hey, do we have a moderator in here? I just think the 8 weeks are pretty important. I got him. Okay. I see what you mean, Sox content. Yeah, so first and foremost, let me know if you like these. Comment on the video once this is done, whether or not you liked this sort of, we're going to just run through trades, agree or disagree on them, and see kind of how they feel. You're good, Prodigy. I got them. Maybe we'll start incorporating this a little bit during the slow parts of the offseason, or maybe we'll do like signings or projected lineups or something. I thought this was kind of fun. If you're new here, we do these once a week. We talk Sox every day but Sunday, except when there's a holiday. I really appreciate you guys being here. There's quite literally no news going on. What's up, Joey? Sorry you could only make it for the last couple seconds here, my friend. there was quite literally no news going on. None, right? And you guys still sat here with me and had a good time. So that means a lot to me. It really does. I'm excited for what 2025 is going to bring, folks. First stream of 2025. I'm excited to see what not only the season brings, but us as a community, what we can do together, because I think we can do a lot of fun stuff in this season. I think it's going to be a big year for the Red Sea community. We'll see, though. Anyways, guys, where's the cat? They're sleeping. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate you all. You like this video if you want. If you enjoyed it, like it. Let me know you did. Best way to help these videos out. Mean a lot to me. Thank you all very, very much for hanging out with me in the middle of, I would say, baseball purgatory as we wait for the next signing from the Red Sox. And I will see you all, as always, in the Red Sea.